To have faith is to trust yourself to the water. When you swim, you don't grab hold of the water, because if you do, you will sink and drown. Instead, you relax and you float. You are standing by a still lake at dawn. The air is crisp, painted with the faintest chill. Mist curls lazily above the surface, and the water looks like a mirror that has never been broken. You reach down, dip your hand into it, and notice that no matter how much you stir, no matter how much you try to grasp it, the water slips effortlessly through your fingers. This is life, isn't it? For most of us, we go through our days clutching at things, reputations, plans, worries about what people think, as if our grip could keep the whole world in place. But the art of not caring, the secret whispered quietly by sages and poets, is not indifference, it is freedom. Not caring is not apathy, it is grace. It is not about shrugging and saying nothing matters. No, it is about dancing in such a way that the weight of the world no longer drags you to the floor. It is about meeting life with open hands, instead of clenched fists. We are taught from childhood to care very, very much. Care about your grades, care about your job, care about what your neighbor thinks of your front yard. We are taught that caring is the noble way, that if you don't care, you're somehow lazy or irresponsible. But there comes a point when caring turns into clinging, and clinging turns into suffering. It's like holding onto a rope that's pulling you along behind a speeding horse. The harder you grip, the more it burns. Sooner or later you have to let go, not because you've given up on life, but because you have learned to ride it differently. Have you noticed that the moments when you are happiest are the ones where you stop trying so hard? The laughter that bubbles up when you stop worrying about sounding foolish. The solution to a problem that comes precisely when you stop thinking about it. That's the first taste of the art of not caring. That little sip of liberation that says, I don't need to hold this quite so tightly. You see, the universe is built on paradox. The more you try to control it, the more chaotic it becomes. The more you try to impress someone, the more awkward you feel. The more you try to force happiness, the further it seems to run from you. Not caring is the discovery that you can step out of this exhausting game. It's as if you're standing in a marketplace where everyone is shouting at once. Advertisements, expectations, opinions. Be this, do that, look like this, think like that. And suddenly you turn around, step out of the market, and walk into a quiet forest where the only sound is wind through the leaves. There in that silence you find yourself, because who you truly are does not depend on what they think of you, or whether today's performance was perfect. Who you are has been quietly watching all along, like the sky watching the weather. Let me tell you a story. There was once a young monk who traveled to a distant teacher, desperate for wisdom. "Master," he said, "I am plagued by anxiety. I am always worrying about what will happen, about whether I will succeed, whether others will respect me." The teacher simply smiled and handed him a cup of tea. But as he poured, he kept pouring until the tea spilled over the rim and onto the table. "Stop! The cup is full," the monk cried. The teacher nodded. "Exactly. Your mind is like this cup, so full of worries that nothing new can enter. If you wish to taste peace, you must first empty the cup. Not caring is emptying the cup. It is making space for life to surprise you. When you do this, you find that life carries you along like a river carrying a fallen leaf. And you realize you don't have to paddle frantically just to stay afloat. The art of not caring does not mean rejecting the world. It means allowing the world to be itself. Think about how the moon never rushes to catch up with the sun, and yet somehow they create the tides, the seasons, the dance of day and night. If the moon suddenly cared too much and tried to force its orbit, the harmony would be broken. Likewise, when you stop trying to control everyone and everything, you find a rhythm, not because you forced it, but because you allowed it to emerge. This is why sages throughout history have said in one way or another, do your work, then step back. The only path to serenity, Because when you have done what you can do, when you have taken the step that is yours to take, you can release the outcome into the great unfolding of life. If you wish to practice this art, begin with something very small. The next time someone criticizes you, pause. Feel the instinctive clench in the stomach, the rising of the defensive words, and then instead of reacting, simply breathe. Let the criticism hang there as if it were just a passing cloud. You may find that it loses its power. This is not weakness. This is strength. The strength to choose when and how to care instead of being dragged around by every demand. Because caring is not wrong. Caring is beautiful, but it is meant to be like rain, falling where it must, nourishing what it touches, and then moving on. It is not meant to flood the whole landscape of your life until you drown. Muddy water is best cleared by leaving it alone. Have you ever noticed that a pond becomes clear not when we stir it with a stick, but when we step away and let it settle on its own? In much the same way, our lives clear up when we stop agitating them with endless worry. But here's the curious thing. Most of us have been conditioned to believe that constant agitation is the sign of a responsible person. If you are not worried, you are not working hard enough. If you are calm, something must be wrong with you. This is why not caring feels almost rebellious, because it is an act of trust in a world that constantly demands our anxiety. Think for a moment about how much of your life is lived for an invisible audience. We dress, speak, buy, even dream as though someone were watching, a crowd of imagined critics perched in the back of our minds. We spend so much energy holding up this invisible mask that we forget to feel the wind on our own skin. Not caring is taking off the mask and realizing that the world is not a courtroom, it is a playground. And on a playground, no one keeps score. Imagine walking through a bazaar where each stall sells approval. One vendor says, "Work harder and you will earn my respect." Another calls out, "Look more beautiful and I will give you my love." Another shouts, "Think like me, speak like me, agree with me, and I will give you belonging." And there you are, running from stall to stall with handfuls of coins, trading pieces of yourself for scraps of validation. But then comes the day when you stop, look around and laugh, because you realize that this entire marketplace is imaginary. No one is truly selling you anything. Your worth was never in their hands. You see, the art of not caring is a kind of quiet rebellion, not against society, but against the unnecessary burden we put on our own shoulders. It is saying, I will work, yes, but I will not exhaust myself to prove my existence. I will love, but I will not twist myself into knots to be loved back. I will walk my path, but I will not follow one that leads me away from who I really am. This is not selfishness. This is sanity. Because there is a difference between helping the world out of love and helping the world out of fear. One brings life, the other brings resentment. When you stop caring so desperately about being perfect, something miraculous happens. You become alive. There is a Japanese practice called kintsugi, the art of repairing broken pottery with veins of gold. Instead of hiding the cracks, they illuminate them. The object becomes more beautiful for having been broken. Your life is like this. Every mistake, every failure, every moment you thought would ruin you, they are the cracks through which your true character shines. But when you care too much about appearing flawless, you cover up the very gold that makes you radiant. Some people imagine that if they care less, they will become careless. But this is a misunderstanding. Not caring is not about dropping all responsibility and running away to live in a cave. It is about finding a rhythm where you can move with life instead of against it. Imagine a dancer in the middle of a crowded street. Cars honk, dogs bark, people shout, and yet the dancer spins and leaps, perfectly in tune with some music only they can hear. This is what it feels like to care just enough, to move with grace, even when the world is noisy and uncertain. There is an old story about a master archer who never missed his target. His students asked him how he could be so precise. He smiled and said, "At first I cared very much about hitting the target. I would sweat, I would shake, I would grip the bow so tightly that my hands ached, and I missed again and again. But then one day I realized the target is not my enemy. The target is simply the place where the arrow lands. So I let my breath guide me. I let the bow pull itself. I let the arrow fly when it was ready to fly. And from that day on, I no longer missed." The point is clear. When you stop caring in the frantic, grasping way, you actually perform better. You become fluid. You become precise. You become present. At the heart of this art lies stillness. There is a place within you that is untouched by fear, untouched by the opinions of others. It is not something you create. It is already there, like a quiet garden at the center of a city, waiting for you to enter. Most people will never step into this garden because they are too busy running from one street to the next. But if you stop, just stop, you will hear the sound of your own breathing. You will hear the leaves rustle, and you will know beyond words that you are not behind schedule. Not caring does not mean that nothing matters. It means you have learned to choose what matters. It is pruning the tree of your life so that it can bear real fruit. Instead of caring about every rumor, every comment, every temporary setback, you pour your attention into the few things that truly light you up, and in doing so you find yourself again. Children understand this better than we do. Watch a child playing in the sand. They build a castle with total dedication, shaping every tower and wall with care. But when the tide comes in and washes it away, they do not cry for long. They laugh, they start again, or they simply move on to another game. This is the essence of not caring to create, to love, to engage fully with life, but to release it when it changes form. Because nothing was ever yours to keep, only to enjoy. You are under no obligation to be the person you were 5 minutes ago. And so here we are, at the edge of the story. We have walked together through the marketplace of opinions, the quiet garden at the center of the city, and the river that carries all things. Now we stand before the open sky, where the art of not caring becomes not just an idea, but a living way of being. Life is full of theater roles. We are expected to play the diligent worker, the perfect parent, the loyal friend, the hero of our own little tale. But not caring invites you to step for just a moment behind the curtain, to peek into the wings of the stage, and remember that the play is not all there is. When you stop taking your role so seriously, you can improvise, you can laugh, you can dance on stage, miss a line, and still enjoy the show. This is not irresponsibility, this is freedom. Think of the trees in autumn. They do not panic when their leaves turn gold and fall away. They do not cling desperately to each leaf. Instead, they let go with quiet elegance, trusting that winter will come and spring will follow. In the same way, the art of not caring is letting go of what has finished its season in your life, an opinion that no longer serves you, a relationship that has run its course, an identity you've outgrown. Letting go is not the end. It is the doorway to the next chapter. You might wonder, if I care less, will I lose my fire? Will I lose my ambition, my drive? But here's the paradox. When you stop caring about the wrong things, you suddenly have more energy for the right ones. You stop wasting strength on pleasing everyone, and you channel it into creating something that feels true. You stop obsessing about whether the world approves, and you start living in a way that makes your soul approve. This is strength, not the brittle kind that cracks under pressure, but the kind that bends like bamboo in the wind. There was once a man standing in a storm, shouting at the sky, demanding that the rain stop so he could continue his journey. He grew angrier and angrier, shaking his fist at the clouds. And then a traveler came along, opened his hands, and let the rain fall on his face. He began to walk, humming softly to himself. "Why are you not angry?" The first man cried. "The storm is ruining everything." The traveler smiled. "The storm is not ruining anything, it is only raining. My journey continues, whether I rage against the sky or not." And so he walked on, singing, leaving the other man in his fury. The art of not caring is choosing to be the singing traveler. And now I invite you to pause. Right here, right now, take a deep breath. Let the shoulders drop, let the jaw unclench. Ask yourself, what burden am I carrying that I could gently set down? What opinion, what fear, what imaginary audience could I stop performing for, just for today? Because the moment you stop carrying it, you will discover that you were always lighter than you thought. If this journey has resonated with you, if you felt even a spark of freedom while listening, let this be the beginning of your own practice of letting go. And if you'd like to continue exploring these ideas together, I invite you to subscribe to this channel, not as a duty, not as an obligation, but as an act of curiosity, a way of saying, yes, I want to keep walking this strange and beautiful road. Click subscribe, share this with a friend who might need to hear it, and let's keep discovering together what it means to live lightly, deeply, and with a little less unnecessary caring. The art of not caring is not the end of passion, but the beginning of peace. It is not indifference, it is intimacy with life. And as you step back into your world after these few moments together, I hope you carry this truth with you. You are free, free to care when it matters, free to let go when it doesn't, free to live with open hands, open eyes, and an open heart. And when the noise of the world grows loud again, remember, you can always return to that quiet place inside where the water is still, and you are already whole.